Okay, so the previous president had turned down 2 in 10 years, and our current president has turned down 5 in less than 3 years.
Well, not quite 2 years.
Not quite 2 years.
And then this is the second year, and he starts his third in January? No, 3 years.
3 years.
And he starts his fourth in January.
I would like your comment on the open door policy that's now being talked about, and newspapers on campus have published articles about how our current president has opened his doors to talk about issues with faculty. How do you look at this development?
Should I start?
Sure.
Well, I think it's a positive development that the president is trying to get more direct input from faculty. So this is presented as some sort of office hours for faculty members to come and discuss with him the issues that they see. It has been structured as one-on-one appointments. I have had no feedback so far as to what faculty who have been at this one-on-one appointments, what they thought, whether it was constructive or not. But
yeah, I only know one person who didn't talk about anything that he'd actually talked about with the president, but he did say when he came out of it he liked him better.
I have an appointment in late November, and so I'm looking forward to that. But I also wish you would say that, well, in addition to these, I have and maintain an open door policy, meaning that if you need to see me, let me know, and I'll make time sometime to see you. Or if you need to contact me, email me, and I will respond. I just think that would make all faculty feel that they have access to the president if they really need access to the president. They can make an appointment, basically anytime, not just during these office hours, especially if it's a needful situation.
One of the issues for the three of us and for a few other faculty, because of the positions we're in now or that we've had in the past in regard to the faculty senate, because of that, when we send emails or make a phone call or something like that, we tend to get a response. I don't know what it's like with any sometimes, and I don't know what it's like with other faculty. I just could not speak to that as far as getting a response of one kind or another. I can't think that the open or the office hours issue right now is a bad thing. I don't see it as earth-shaking either.
Can you tell us more about the effects that such a state of shared governance can have on GSU campus? Or for the student body?
You mean from the viewpoint of the educational experience
right.
of students? I think... No, go ahead.
I'd like to go to the kind of the philosophy of shared governance and how it impacts, and how it's operated and how it impacts faculty, that you move down to that level. There's a concept of whether you're students or your parents or your members of the community or your administration or faculty, there's a concept which I believe has fallen away, and that is the concept of stakeholders. We have a mission at this university to discover, develop, and disseminate knowledge. And you're letting people know you have a stake in this. You're asking them to buy into that mission, to see it as your personal baby. And when faculty do buy in that way, when they see themselves as stakeholders, that is to the benefit of everybody, particularly the students. When, as I think has developed in the last 4 or 5 years, and this is not something just particular to GSU, but it's very obvious here at GSU, that faculty are not really considered to be stakeholders, that we're at best considered to be dependent employees, like a production line, assembly line worker. What happens is that you cease to buy in. All you're doing is looking at your particular area because you're not valued, you're not wanted in the other areas. To use a term that Provost Bartels used in a different context, individual faculty members become siloed. They look at the university not as a place that they buy into, not as a place where they are a part of a mission in which they believe. They are simply salaried workers. The institution is simply a place that gives them a paycheck. They become siloed, and when they become siloed, that cuts them off from the development of the students as a whole through the educational experience, the mission experience, if you will, as a whole. And so, yes, it definitely impacts the students. They become what they're now looked at as customers, not stakeholders. And to a large extent, they're looked at as product and not educated individuals that we are happy to send out into the world. And that, it's a mental approach, it's an attitude, and I think I have seen that siloed attitude developing more and more over the last 4 or 5 years.
I served on as a liaison with the SGA for 2 years recently, and in that experience, I was surprised at the carryover what was discussed in SGA that affected faculty and what was discussed at the Senate that affected students. Faculty are always looking out for students in terms of the governance structure. So when class sizes go up, we bristle at that because we know what that means for students. If we're teaching much larger sections, we have to alter our instruction, our process, our pedagogy, as it were, in order to accommodate these numbers. And when you do that, you give up something. And we're in the process right now of doing that, actually. Class sizes have gone up. We realize there are budget cuts and that sort of thing, but the whole notion that Mark's talking about in terms of stakeholders means that we feel we should be all in this together, but we also feel kind of set aside, that we know what's best, and just let us do our administrating jobs, and you folks do what you have to do. It's easy to do more with less. Well, no, it isn't. And we want to make sure that the degree that existed for Georgia Southern 10 years ago and its quality is maintained today, that it's the same quality degree today that it was 10 years ago when class sizes were smaller, when we had more writing in the classes, when we had more critical thinking and more opportunities for discussion. When those things start to go away, we as faculty then begin to question, well, what kind of degree are we offering now at Georgia Southern? Is it the same one?
Well, you guys don't leave me a lot to add to that. Nevertheless, I have a couple of things to add. I have said in my convocation remarks that what makes a difference between a university and a vacation camp or a football franchise is what faculty do, in particular their interactions with students in their scholarly activities. And that because of that, the voice of the faculty should be a compass for any institution. How much of a compass it is depends on how much the shared governance structure functions. I think, well, I'm not going to give a judgment on how well it is functioning now and how much we are listened to. There is definitely a widely shared perception today among faculty that the system is, I don't know if I want to say broken, but does not function properly. And that it is very difficult for the faculty to be heard. Now, this has, of course, implication, I think, for the experience of students, and I think Mark and Michael both have articulated the reasons. People get disengaged, and this is not a good thing for students either. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention about the question of the implications for the educational experience of students. We talked about the top-down structure. This is not only an issue at the institutional level, but at the state level. This is a top-down structure from the state, and right now there is this push directly from the state to graduate more students. There is this Complete College Georgia movement, and in particular there is the idea that the state appropriation should be tied to graduation rates and these type of things. So in practice, what we're going to be told is we have to be creative about ways to improve graduation rates without compromising standards. In practice, if there is huge pressure to pass more people, I think everybody understands what that means in terms of the standards. I see more pressure coming as a result of this Complete College Georgia. So in that sense, you can infer what kind of consequences you have for the quality of education from this top-down structure. Where this is going, in this case, I'm not blaming at all any administrators at the institutional level about Complete College Georgia. This is pushed on them as well. They have no choice. They will have to act on it. But certainly this will have consequences for students. The state is going to say that these are positive consequences because more students from Georgia get second higher education degree. However, the question is, what does it mean? What is the meaning of that degree?